Hi, welcome back to Positive Solutions for Families. This is session 6. I'm Ellen Olson, and I will be your host. I work for Cornell Cooperative Extension of Oneida County in the Child Care Council. For more information on Positive Solutions for Families or any of the other programs offered at Cornell Cooperative Extension, please see our website at cceoneida.com. What's happening today? Today, we're going to talk about some of the strategies that you can use to deal with behavior problems that continue, even though you're using all the parenting practices we've discussed in our previous sessions. So today, we're going to talk about those super challenging behaviors that don't seem to get better no matter what you do. How did things go with your activities to try at home? What strategies have you begun to use? How are they working? Have any of these strategies affected your child's behavior? Have you seen other changes? How did you feel about trying these strategies? Did you use any of the logical consequences we talked about last time? How did that go? Have these strategies and strategies from previous sessions helped you achieve some of your goals from session 1? Now, turn to activity number 28 in your Positive Solutions for Families workbook. Complete your parent encouragement and positive comment form. Let's begin by looking at some of the descriptions of children who are having challenging behavior. I will read a little story to you, and I want you to think about what the child might or might not want. Think about what the child's behavior is saying. What is the child trying to tell us? Let's look at the first one, Angelo. Angelo is playing with his blocks while Mom cooks dinner. Mom says, "Angelo, dinner is ready. Come to the table." Angelo comes to the table and after a few minutes gets up, grabs his sandwich, and goes over to play with his blocks. Mom said, "Angelo, come back to the table." Angelo comes to the table to drink some juice, then leaves again. Mom tells Angelo again to come back to the table. Angelo throws his sandwich, then falls on the floor, kicking and screaming. What is Angelo trying to say with his behavior? Angelo's behavior seems to be saying, "I don't want to sit at the table." Let's look at another one. Fabio. Fabio is making cookies with his mom and sister Kate. Fabio is stirring the cookie dough and taking bites of the dough. Kate tries to take the spoon away. Fabio grabs the bowl and Kate starts crying. Mom takes the bowl away from Fabio. Fabio throws himself on the floor and begins crying. What does Fabio's behavior seem to be saying? Fabio seems to be saying, "I want to hold the mixing bowl." This story is a little more complicated. It may mean, Fabio's behavior may mean he does not want to give his sister a turn. However, if we took the bowl away to put it in the refrigerator, would Fabio still have a tantrum? Probably. He seems to want the bowl. Now let's look at Kyra. Kyra's mom is giving her a bath. Bath time is one of Kyra's favorite routines. Mom tells Kyra it's time to get out of the bath. Kyra starts splashing and throwing water. She begins crying and shaking her head no. Mom lets Kyra play a few more minutes. Kyra's behavior seems to be saying, I don't want to get out of the tub. Tammy is playing dress up when Dad tells her it's time to clean up and get ready for dinner. Tammy runs behind the chair with her purse and baby. When Dad comes to pick her up, she begins kicking and hitting. Dad puts her down and tells her not to kick. Then he leaves the room to go set the dinner table. Tammy's behavior seems to be saying, I'm not ready to stop playing. Let's look at one more. Nina. Nina and her grandma are at the grocery store. It is taking Grandma longer than she thought because she had to pick up a special order. Grandma is talking to the butcher, and Nina's pushing her doll in the play cart. Nina begins to pull things from the shelves. Grandma tells her to stop. Nina throws her cookie down. Grandma picks up the cookie and throws it away and continues talking to the butcher. Nina throws her doll on the floor. Grandma picks her up and says, if you can't behave, I guess I will have to carry you. Do any of you have a child who persists in using a challenging behavior? Is this way of thinking about behavior making sense to you? What do you think your child is getting out of this behavior? It will get better as we figure out why the child is doing the behavior, what they need. Then we can figure out what to do about it. Children engage in challenging behavior because it works for them. They're communicating a need that sometimes we can't see or don't look at, and the behavior works for them. When children engage in challenging behavior, it is to get something or someone or to get out of something. We don't like that they use challenging behavior to express themselves, and often we don't like the message. For example, if your child has a tantrum in the grocery store because she wants to buy a toy and you said no, we can recognize that the behavior is saying, I want a toy, even if we don't like the message. Remember to be a detective. Try and figure out the meaning of the behavior. Sometimes it takes a little detective work to figure out what the behavior is about. You have to step back, examine the situation. The clues for discovering the meaning of behavior can be found in 3 things. What happened before the behavior? What did the child do? And what happened after the behavior? Angelo's mother tells him it's time for dinner. She begins to guide him to sit in his chair. He falls on the floor, begins kicking and screaming, and shouts no. His mother tells him to stop and tries to pick him up. He kicks her, and she sends him to his room. Let's look at Angelo again. What happened before his behavior? Angelo's mother tells him it's time for dinner. She begins to guide him to sit in the chair. What does that tell you? Yes, his mom asked him to come to the dinner table. His behavior is in reaction to that. Now let's look at what Angelo did when his mother asked him to come to the table and guided him to his chair. What did he do? He had a major tantrum. That lets us know the request for coming to the table was met with major resistance. Next, Let's look at what happened after the behavior. What did Angelo eventually get? Did he get his need met? Angelo eventually got sent to his room. He didn't have to come to the table. Do you think he might try this behavior again? Angelo didn't want to come to the table when his mom called him. He threw a major temper tantrum. His mom tried to pick him up. He kicked her. She sent him to his room. Now he doesn't have to come to the table. That's exactly the behavior he was trying to get out of, and it's been reinforced using this behavior. Behavior can mean many things. Here's a list of some of the things your child's challenging behavior may be communicating. Remember, we might not like the message, but we can identify it and understand it. I want you to pay attention to me. I want that. Could be food, toy, paint. I want to play with you. I don't want to stop what I'm doing, and I don't want to clean up. Once you identify the meaning of a challenging behavior, you can identify a plan to change it. For example, if you know that the soup is too bland, you might add some spice. If you know that it is not right, there is not much you can do about it. We're going to talk about what goes in the plan with a goal of reducing your child's behavior and teaching him new skills to use. There are three essential parts of the plan. You should always have these three parts. Use prevention strategies to try to keep the problem behavior from happening in the first place. 2, teach your child new ways to communicate, new skills for participating in rules and expectations, in routines and expectations. And 3, make sure your child's problem behavior won't work for him or her. Let's look at the first part, prevention. Here are just a few ideas about what you might use as prevention strategies. Our goal here is to minimize the possibility that your child will use challenging behavior. For example, if your child uses challenging behavior when you say it's time for bed, you might give him or her a warning that helps him get ready for the final direction of bedtime. You might say, 10 minutes to bedtime, then 5 minutes later, 5 minutes to bedtime, and then state the direction, bedtime. It may also help to include choices. It's bedtime now. You can choose to read 2 books or listen to some music while you fall asleep. It may sound like I'm recommending that you are accommodating your child when he is misbehaving. And in some sense, I am. I'm recommending that you change the conditions of the task to minimize the likelihood that your child will use challenging behavior. When you do that, your child will be calmer and better able to learn the routine, new skills, or your expectations for the behavior. Here are some examples of other prevention strategies. Simplify the task. If you have asked your child to make his or her bed, maybe you could change your expectations and only ask him or her to pull up the spread after you have done the rest. Number 2, explain what will come. If your child has a difficult time at the doctor's office, you might try to explain through a storybook or with pictures what will happen in the doctor's office before you get there. Number 3, make your child comfortable. If your child cries when being buckled into the hot car seat, think of some strategies to cool it down before putting your child in it. Number 4, use a job chart. Sometimes getting a string of verbal directions from a child can set off challenging behavior. A job chart or a routine chart can display what you want your child to do, and you can put stickers on the chart to celebrate the completion of each task. Show a picture. You will be surprised at how a picture can explain what is coming up next or be used to give a direction to child. You might use a sit picture to remind your child to sit down, or a photo of your child doing a routine to let your child know it is time to do that activity. Reduce distractions. Sometimes there's too much going on, and your child can't pay attention to you or your instructions. For example, you might have to first turn the TV off, get on your child's eye level, and then give him the instruction. Number 7, offer help. When your child is doing a task that might be hard, for example, getting dressed, offer your help before the whining begins, or remind your child you can always ask for help if you need it. Prepare the activity ahead of time. Children don't like to wait. They don't do it well. Actually, most adults don't like to wait either. Prepare activities ahead of time and minimize your child's wait time. Think of things to keep your child's mind and body busy while they're waiting. For example, don't call your child to dinner unless, especially if he or she is likely to be resistant, until everything is ready. And finally, number 9, make the activity fun. Children will do better in activities that are fun for them. For example, if your child resists bath time, think about making up a silly song or use a washcloth puppet to help him or her get undressed to get in the tub. We're going to use prevention strategies to make the routine easier for the child to do without challenging behavior. But we're not going to stop there. We can't just make everything okay or better for children. We must also have expectations for them. Our first effort at teaching a new skill is to teach a replacement skill for the challenging behavior. For example, if your child is having a tantrum to communicate, "I want a toy," wouldn't it be better if he or she just said with words that he wanted the toy? Here's a list of new skills we could teach a child to replace his or her problem behavior. Ask for a turn, ask for an object, ask for an activity, ask for help, ask for a hug, ask to leave, say no, say I don't want to, make a choice, or follow a schedule. When we can't honor the meaning of behavior, this can be a difficult part of the approach. Your child may want to communicate messages you don't want to hear. For example, if your child says, "I don't want to," when you want him or her to brush his teeth, we should teach him or her to say that. Should we teach him or her to say that? No, we will teach him or her the new skills of following a schedule or using a job chart. But if your child says "all done" when sitting at the dinner table, that is better than having a tantrum to get down from the table. You can then say, "One more bite, then all done." When you begin to implement your plan, your child will still have some challenging behavior. It's not going to change just because you've developed a plan. It's sort of like going to a gym. It's a good first step, but you won't lose weight just because you made the commitment to begin exercising. So you need to make sure that your plan includes new ways for you to respond to challenging behaviors when it happens. The most common strategy you can use is to say to your child, you can use your words, "tell me" or "show me," and then give your child what he or she wants. The goal is to have your child use new skills to get his or her needs met. Sometimes we can't let children have what they want. For example, you must sit in your car seat, you must take medication, you must get dressed, you must take a bath, you must stay in your own bed. On these occasions, tell your child that you know he or she is feeling or wanting, then restate the rule. You can follow that with a choice. You have to sit in your car seat, but you can hold your bear or your blankie. Remember Brendan? Brendan is the boy at the public library with his mother. This is the video we observed in a previous meeting. Let's watch it again. The parents indicated that the library was the most difficult place for them to visit due to their son's behavior. In fact, every time they visited the library, they were asked to leave. You will see this video and listen to his parents talk about what their life was like before PBS. PBS stands for Positive Behavior Support. Then you're going to have an opportunity to watch Brendan go back to the library after they taught him what the expectations were through a scripted story using photographs taken in the library and mapping out the steps and expectations into a storybook. They also created cue cards to cue him to whisper, walk, and hold hands in the parking lot. Let's listen to the parents talk about their lives before positive behavior support. I'm sorry about that, having technical difficulties here. Let's try this again.
When we went out anywhere, just going out, we just decided to stay home because it was easier, or taking turns going out, or I wait for you to come home from work. And
we couldn't even go in and out of Publix or Walmart because we couldn't get through the door without having a tantrum. Certainly couldn't go to a restaurant and sit down and have a dinner for a half hour. Just simple everyday life things we couldn't do.
We became isolated, not even eating dinner at home or giving the kids baths or simple things at home. So we ended up just developing routines around Brendan, and that was what we did, you know. I think everybody revolved around him.
I guess what made Brendan tough before PBS was that we had no way to communicate with him. We didn't know what he wanted. He was frustrated. We were frustrated, and it was just a lack of communication of understanding why he was doing what he was doing, and then how to resolve it. Is probably what made it the toughest for me. So she just didn't know just how to communicate with him.
I think it was so hard when he would just fall down, and I had to carry him in places, carry him out of places. We were spectacles. People just watched us. They judged us.
I guess when we missed out on activities that our family members were having, I guess you felt defeated, depressed.
I felt abandoned by the family. I felt like our family wasn't supporting us, and our entire family was excluded from an event because of our child, and I didn't think that they were helping us to know what to do with our kid. I mean, if anything, they had some pretty tough comments about, well, maybe you should consider an institution. And some of these things are well-meaning. They actually meant well by saying these things about our child, but none of it was really good advice.
I guess you have a lot of self-pity. You're like, you're kind of like, I can't believe this is what my life has turned into. And it's like, maybe that's what we felt the most is like, how did this happen? How do we go from where we were 3 years ago or 4 years ago to where we are, today, not being able to leave our house. So that was probably the worst feeling.
Other people looked at us like there was something wrong with our parenting skills.
Certainly before PBS, people, you could just see it. You go to the grocery store and you have somebody tell you, this is the way you should do it, or, your child's doing that because whatever, you're not spanking him, or you give him a little spanking and he'll be fine, or whatever, So you have all those. Everybody has their own opinion on how you should raise your child without even knowing what your situation is. So
I think strangers always gave us advice when we were out, and our family always gave us advice, and it was somewhere always along the line of discipline, punishment.
Mom's hand, those are the cue cards.
Great books. That's fine. Just 1, 2 books. And then we'll bring them to the count. That's 1, 2. Count. It's 1.
Take it.
That one and this one? Yeah. Okay. I forgot my library card.
That was Brandon after they used the scripted stories and the cue cards. Now they've taught Brandon what his expectations are using the scripted story and photographs taken in the library, mapping out his steps and expectations into the storybook. The cards in her hand were the cue cards to cue him to whisper, walk, and hold hands in the parking lot. This was their first trip back to the library after using positive behavior support. Now let's hear what his parents had to say after.
With PBS, we've been able to go back to some of the things and just look really normal out and just in public and restaurants we've gone to eat, and
Baseball game.
we went to a baseball game, we go to dinner. We have goals, little goals of things that we want to do, that it's like, okay, let's see how we can accomplish this, and then we just go ahead and figure it out and get our pictures together and
Get our social stories made.
and he said, now we're gonna do this. Figured out which things have worked for our family, and I guess that's part of the PBS process, is making it work for you, and then we use it with Brendan. We do first den schedules with Brendan, which always work. Our first den schedule, the first ones we used were, first do something hard for you, and then French fries, because that was always, a reward, and then our first den schedules are just like a regular routine that he can cope with, and we've been able to get away from some of the schedules too. Not completely, because he always needs them, but he's just real comfortable. As soon as he learns his routine, we don't have to resort to a picture for every little thing. And
the first couple of weeks of learning how to say things in a positive way was very difficult. I mean, you couldn't get a whole sentence out without stopping and realizing you were saying something negative. So
we had to correct each other.
Yeah. So I think after the first couple of weeks we finally got the hang of it, and it's interesting now to see other parents or other kids and listen to how they talk to their children. It's like, that used to be me, and to see the reactions of the children when they're speaking to them that way.
And then we know what they're doing. Yeah. We're like, we know what you're doing. You're telling him don't, stop, no, and you're not giving him any direction, and you're not helping him, and you're not telling him what to do exactly. And so we see why your child is like that, but my child is got problems, and he's not like that. The biggest cause of celebration is having a simple day. When you know the alternative, a simple day without a tantrum is a happy day. Just happy.
That was quite a difference between using the positive behavior support and helping Brandon, once the parents knew what his behavior was trying to do and the ways that they could help him manage his expectations and routines during the day, made a huge difference. Now I'd like you to look at the family routine guide. These ideas may be new to you, and it can be a little overwhelming and complicated. So Positive Solutions for Families have created this booklet with ideas about developing a plan for family activities and routine where children might have a problem behavior. Let's look at the guide and see what's included. Let's just pick something here. So the first part of the guide is how to use this family routine guide. There's a family planning sheet. Some of the routines include getting dressed and undressed, brushing teeth and hair, meals, snacks, play, outside play, clean up, which is sometimes challenging, riding in the car, shopping, going to restaurants, going to the doctor, taking medicine, taking a bath, going to the bathroom and washing hands, our bedtime routines, sleeping, napping, when parents can't play, when you're busy doing other things, and then transitions, going from one activity to another. This family routine guide might help you with some of the times when your child might exhibit challenging behavior, and you might be able to adapt it in a way that it becomes useful for you. Each routine begins with identifying why the child might have the problem behavior, and then the guide provides ideas about preventions and new ways to respond and new skills to teach the child. You can use this guide for ideas about how to help your child. Look for the routine or activity where your child has a challenging behavior. Look at the reasons why a child might have the challenging behavior in that routine. Do any of those fit your child? What do you think your child is trying to tell you with his or her challenging behavior? Let's look at the strategies that you can use. Look in the column that says, what can I do to prevent the problem behavior? Read the strategies. Do any of these look like they might work for your child? Write down the strategies. Now look at the column that says, what do I do if the problem behavior occurs? Read the strategies. Do any of these look like they might work for your child? Remember, you might have to try one or two to find out the ones that work the best for you and your child. What new skills should I teach? Is there a new skill that your child can learn to replace the challenging behavior or to cooperate with the routine? We're going to look at the family routine guide, and I want you to select some strategies that might help your child in a routine. Select some strategies that might work with your child in a routine. Use your family planning worksheets to write down ideas, and then reflect on your goals from session 1. This is your activity in your workbook number 29. This completes our final solutions for families. You did it. Thank you for participating in this group. We hope you learned a lot of new ways to help your child understand your expectations and express his or her emotions. If you try and implement all the things we have discussed and your child still has challenging behavior, try the approaches we've discussed in this session. We all encounter children who have difficulty and need to team up with other people to help fully meet their needs. If your child still has issues, please ask for help. You can contact me or your child's teacher, or call to speak with someone that can tell you about services in the community that can help you. Again, you can reach out to me at elp32@cornell.edu. Thank you for coming. While this is our last session, we would still like to encourage you to try the things at home activities in your workbooks. Pick a routine where your child might use challenging behavior, and use the family routine guide to get some different ideas about responses and see how your child responds. And don't forget to give yourself positive comments and encouragement for the great job you're doing. Thank you for attending our Positive Solutions for Families. For more information, please contact us at cceoneida.com